Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I'm Miss Lisa, and this is my YouTube channel for all things math and science. And today I'm making two calculator lab videos. One is how to use your graphing calculator to graph, and also how to get that graph from your calculator onto your paper to turn in for your test or for your homework or whatever. How do you really use it for something useful other than just looking at the graphs? And then I'm going to make a second one today, so come back for it. And it's going to show you how to use your graphing calculator to solve an equation. So we're going to start. We're following along in this book. It's Algebra 1, McDougal Littel, page 248. And you don't have to have this book to learn this, but it's just a good book because it has these calculator labs in it, and they show you how to, it kind of takes you through step by step, and then it shows you how to practice it. All right, so they want us to graph this equation. 2x minus 3y equals 33, and we're going to use our calculator to do that. And if you notice on your calculator, the button here says y equals. So the first thing you have to do is get y by itself. Now, how do you get y by itself in the equation? By doing the opposite. And you start with what's further away and work to what's closer to y. So what's further away is this 2x. And you say, okay, so what's going on with this 2x? Well, this 2x is positive. The negative goes with the 3y. And it's got addition, subtraction between it. So this is actually being added on this side because it's like an understood plus. So the first thing we do is we subtract 2x from both sides. These cancel out and you're left with negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 33. Now, why did they put the negative 2x first? It's etiquette. Weirdly, math has etiquette, and you put x's before bare numbers. Okay, now why is y not alone? That's fun to say. It's because it's being multiplied by a negative 3. So what's the opposite of multiplying by negative 3? Dividing by negative 3. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Now, who gets divided by negative 3? Everybody. I say it's a pirate party because there's a bunch of pirates. They're in Tortuga, and they are sharing the doubloons with rum, but we don't have rum, so we're sharing negative 3. Divide by negative 3 for everybody, okay? Those cancel out, so y is by itself. Negative 2 divided by negative 3 is two negatives make a positive, so it's 2/3 x. You can put the x up here with the 2 or next to it. It doesn't make any difference. And 33 divided by 3 is 11, and you have one positive and one negative, so it's negative. So that's our equation that we're going to put in our calculator. All right? So we go and we turn our calculator on. And this works for TI 84s, 83s, 82s. They're all the same for this. You put the y equals button, and you might have something already in there like I do. If you do, you clear it out, and then arrow down, clear it out. Get it all nice and neat so that we're starting. Also, make sure that that little box isn't darkened. If it is, at plot 1, you have to turn it off. You arrow up to it, you hit enter, and now see how mine now is dark? You want that to not be dark. So I go back up there and hit enter again. So if it looks like this, your screen's in good shape. And now we can put in our equation. Now, there's more than one way to do this fraction. If your calculator is newer, you can do the alpha y equals, and then numerator, denominator is choice number 1. I hit enter, and I have the fraction boxes where I could say 2 on top, arrow down, 3 on bottom, arrow over, put an X, and then minus 11. And the minus is here, minus in the middle, because they both start with the letter M. Okay, so that's how I would do it if I have a new calculator like this one. If you have an old calculator where you just tried that alpha y equals and there was nothing there, then you have to put your fraction in parentheses instead. So you do beginning parentheses, 2 divided by 3, that's where your fraction bar comes in parentheses, x. If you don't put it in parentheses, your calculator won't know if that x goes in the numerator or denominator, and it goes in the numerator, so it'll mess it up. and then you do minus 11. So that's how you would put in for an old calculator, this for a new calculator. Now, the next thing the book says is to try this window. And so you would go to the window button and you would put in what they have here. And you would graph it, and you would not be able to see the intercept. So that's no good. And then they tell you to change the window again. Still no good. Then they tell you to change the window again. And finally, it gets better where you can see it. All right. So what I like to do, so that's how you get to the window, and you just mess around with it. But let's not do that yet. What I like to do first is go to this button that says Zoom. And I like to try Zoom Standard first. So I'm going to go to number 6, and we're going to graph it and see if it wasn't a very good window. Zoom Standard wasn't very good. Do you see how mine was blue and then turned red? It's because I entered it in there twice. Okay, so now I can go mess with the window now that I know it wasn't good. Okay, so thinking about how my line looked, I probably need some more negative. It's like it was too far down. I'm at negative 10. I'm going to make it negative 20. So I use negative 20. And see how I just wrote on top of it? I didn't have to erase. Now my max, I guess that's okay. My y minimum, I think it maybe need to go more negative 2. So I'm going to make that negative 20. And I'm going to make my y max, I'm going to make it 20. Let's make everything 20. Let's go up here and make that one 22. So now we're going to try it again and see how it looks. Ta-da! That's good. You want it to be where you can see it crossing the axes. All right, so that looks good. So there's my graph. Now, how do I get that on my graph paper so that my teacher will take it? Because if I just swoosh a little line, if I reproduce this on my test, my teacher is not going to like that one bit. This is what the teacher's going to not like. That there are not arrows on the ends of your X and Y axis. That there are not arrows on the ends of your line. That there are not points plotted for your line to go through. And there's no if-then chart telling what points you plotted. So now we got to get from this to 100 on our test. And this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to use this trace button. It gives me this little blinky light. And where the blinky light is told here on the bottom of the screen. That light is if X is 0, Y is negative 11. So I can make my if-then chart of points here. X, Y. And my first one was the one that gave me if X is 0, Y is negative 11. Okay, I need another one. So I'm going to say, well, what about if X is 2? All I do is I just hit 2. It changes the bottom to X equals 2. I hit enter, and it tells me that it's negative 29 thirds. Is that one I want to use? No, that's a weird fraction. I don't want that. Let's try something else. I'll try 3. Oh, that one's good. If X is 3, Y is negative 9. So that's going to be my next one I'm going to do. If X is 3, Y is negative 9. See, I'm getting my little chart here to make my teacher happy. Okay, so 1 was good, 0 was good, 3 was good. So I'm going to try 6 next. Maybe this is something that goes good on the 3s. And it did. If X is 3, Y is if X is 6, Y is negative 7. So I've got 3 good points. This is a straight line. If I'm your teacher, that's good enough for me. 3 points, boom, draw a line through it. We're done. If your teacher wants more, we could try going up here. We could say, well, what if X is 12? Let's try that. If X is 12, it's negative 3. There's another one. Let's try 15. If X is 15, Y is negative 1. That's a good one. Let's try 18. If X is 18, Y is 1. So we have lots of points here that we can plot. We plot the points on our graph paper. We draw our line, and we've suddenly got a great grade on this graph. So what you've learned this time, to recap, is first you have to get Y by itself and put it in. If you don't have the shortcut button, you have to use parentheses. That you can just try Zoom Standard first to graph it with, but if it's a bad window, then you go to Window, and you can mess around with these numbers. You just write over them until it looks good to you. Then you can graph it. To get the points, to get your if-then chart, hit trace, and then try different numbers until you get a good if-then chart. Now, some people like to do this for their if-then chart. They do second graph, and it gives you a table of values. And you can scroll through until you find good ones. Like that one, if x is 0, y is negative 11. I have it in here twice because remember I did it once with the fractions and once with the parentheses. Notice that where I did fractions, it gives me fractions in the table. Where I did parentheses, it gives me decimals. So if you want something. So my son, who is also a math geek like me, he prefers the table. I don't like the table. I'm more of a visual person, and I like the graph with the little blinky dot to get my if-then chart. He likes scrolling through and looking for good numbers for his if-then chart. So you can do it either way. So if you want to do the table, it's second graph. And then I like to do it with graph. All right. So hope you have fun. See you next time. Math is great.